to The Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. Thank you so much for tuning in. We made it to episode 3. So excited and, as always, grateful to be here and share a little bit of a point of view, interesting topics that we want to dive in today. Something, surprise, surprise, that I'm extremely passionate about. But before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsors again. Couldn't do it without our folks. Starting off with ShareTech. ShareTech, the world's most advanced drug and alcohol screening test. Again, if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably been impacted by drug and alcohol addiction. If you want to be able to test for the most substances, including kratom and many other things, and see the levels of those substances, couldn't recommend ShareTech enough. Go to betterdrugtest.com and find out why people are choosing ShareTech over all those other Amazon cheapy type of cups. And then next sponsor is Easy Sheets. Again, for those short-term rental hosts, this is a professionally cleaning service for your sheets that we ship them to your door, and you can get all that turnaround time back of not sending out your rental all day long, having to clean those sheets. And lastly, again, I'm appealing to Stitch Fix. This podcast is also available on video. Go ahead and tell somebody at Stitch Fix that I'd love a new box of clothes sent over to me. So great, paid a couple bills. So stinking happy to be here. First thing I want to shout out to, it's spring break. I'm out here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Single moms, single dads. It's hard. I've got my little one here in the studio as we record today. I just wanted to take a moment and pause. I mean, parenting in general is challenging enough, but for all those single moms and dads, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. I just wanted to make sure I recognize some of those people. As a recently new single parent, man, it is really challenging. So I just want people to know, feel supported, and recognize that all that hard work is going to pay off in the end. So just something that's been on my mind that I really wanted to start out this podcast and sharing as, spending a little extra time with my daughter this week. So, okay, things I want to talk about this week. One of my favorite topics, if you ever follow me on LinkedIn, which I highly recommend that you do, because that's tend to be where I spend a little bit more of my time on the social side of things. But we're ramping up the Instagram and the Twitter and TikTok and some of that stuff as well too. But a topic that, again, I get fired up about, stigma. Stigma specifically around the words in drug and alcohol addiction. So again, I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. I've been to treatment 2 different times in my life. I've gone to graduate school and finished 90+% of it. But again, listen to podcast 1 if you want to find out why I am the unlicensed counselor. But I really have seen a trend in kind of the behavioral health world, specifically from clinicians, from physicians, PhDs, MDs, around the words that we use to describe people in long-term recovery. And this is something that I'm not going to say I take offense to, but I kind of do, right? I kind of do. The trend is you can say this, you can't say that. And there's such a disconnect between what the actual people that are in a treatment center are saying and then what the clinicians are saying as well, too. And so I want to take a few minutes today and just kind of break down what I think is some of the issues with stigma and some of the words. And I actually brought in, I don't always bring in some sheets here, but I wanted to bring in a recommended language document. This is what clinicians read and are supposed to be talking about to their clients as well too. So let me give you some examples of what stigmatizing language is and then the recommended language as well too. So let's start with stigmatizing language. Drug problem, drug habit, dependence, abuser, addict, druggie, user, junkie, alcoholic, drunk, clean toxicology, detox, dirty, drug addicted, drug of choice, drug offender, ex-addict, former addict. I mean, sober, relapse prevention, stayed clean, untreated addict. This literally what I'm holding here is pages and pages long. This is what people not in the rooms sitting next to people who have 17 minutes clean think that we should be talking about. This is what people with a lot of plaques in their room think that we should be describing people as. And it really, it kind of pisses me off. Now, it's not to say that if you personally in your own recovery or journey or whatever treatment type of program that you want to be a part of, if you want to go by this, that's completely fine. But please don't force me into describing how I may not choose to be described. So again, I'm a person in long-term recovery. Really what I should be saying, what I feel is, I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. You know why I call myself that? It's because it reminds me of exactly who I was, how I'm not that far away from what I could be, and how easily I could be back at that place very quickly. So you changing the words and the language and really softening things that have killed people, that continue to kill people on a daily basis, and kind of bastardizing what really a drug addict is. It is a person who is addicted to drugs. An alcoholic is a person who has a serious alcohol problem. And look, it just is what it is, folks. And changing this doesn't change anything. And one of the things that pisses me off, sorry, we're coming out hot today. Coming in a little hot today. It's just, I have this conversation so many times. And this stigmatizing language topic, their whole organization is dedicated to changing the stigma around it and the barriers to entry of addiction to treatment and things like that. And I'm just going, this is BS, right? This is completely BS. And where I would really like to see this go is, if you want to use, these kind of clinical terms, great. But for those of us who have gone to the rooms of 12-step or who have friends or loved ones that are struggling with addiction on a regular basis, some of this may be life or death. And remembering that I am a drug addict or I am an alcoholic, this could be something that keeps me in check and makes it through that day. You changing the words to, okay, let's go over this now. Let's go over recommended language. So here's an example. So instead of saying, dirty, this is a person who tests positive for substance use, right? So instead of abuser, addict, or user, person with a substance use disorder or person with opioid or alcohol use disorder. Let's see, addicted to, you would say I have an X use disorder or a person with alcohol use disorder or substance free instead of clean. I just, this stuff irritates the crap out of me, and I'm not just going to sit here and take it lying down. And to those of you who are out there in the world and hearing this, call yourself what you want, right? Don't feel the pressure to conform to these other things. If like me, and I'll just speak for my personal experience, and many people that I have worked with, knowing that I am a drink away from being a full-blown alcoholic or one drug use away from being a drug addict, that helps me because I've tested it, right? I've stated I had one relapse and that lasted a decade. I know exactly where that one drink can take me. And if I let my brain think that I'm not an alcoholic or that I'm not a drug addict, I can slowly start to tell myself that, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I just had a little bit of a problem, right? And if I start kind of reading some of this, or they've even gone so far as bastardize the word sober. It's amazing what these clinicians, physicians, people, again, with fancy degrees, we can't agree on the word sober anymore. You're California sober or are you sober? So you use weed, but you don't use alcohol. You use Xanax, but I just sit here and I'm just going, what in the heck happened to this world? How did it get so turned upside down? People's lives are on the line, and we can't let somebody know that sober means not taking any drugs or alcohol. Call it abstinence. But you know what? It's sober, right? That's what it is. And you can go at me on Twitter and whatever the heck you want and say, Steve, you're completed. I don't care. I don't care because I sit next to people, right, who have minutes clean, right? I've sat next to parents at funerals while we're burying their kid, right? And this stuff matters, right? And I'm not saying if they would have used this word or that, it may have changed. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather err on this side than the other side of softening the language around what this is. And I'm sorry. Wait a second. I'm not sorry at all. Let me be clear on this. I'm okay with a little bit of stigma, right? I've been called overweight at times in my life, right? You know what I did? I whacked my butt to the gym and I worked my tail off and got in great shape, right? Sometimes I think stigma, a touch of shame, may be a motivating factor for a lot of people. And I think that's okay. I think that we've become so soft or sensitive as a culture now that we're protecting all these people, and it's leading them into harm. And I'm just going, this isn't good for anybody. It's not helping. We need to start to take stands. We need to take some of our words back. Again, I'm not here, thumping AA, but they've done a lot of good, right? It has helped tens of millions, if not billions of people over the decades that it has been in existence. And yes, do they have relapse and people that still pass away from that? Yes. But you give me a program that has clear goals, clear language, and has proven results. And no, I'm not looking for a peer-reviewed journal. Okay, sometimes real life, real world experience can speak for itself. And my God, how many millions of people has that helped and continues to help? It's not perfect, but sign me up for that over what somebody on Twitter is telling me about how I should identify or how you can still be sober, and still be using X, Y, or Z drug. I feel like I need to come up for air for a second. It just gets me so stinking fired up. So, if you have additional thoughts, please shoot them to me on Twitter at The Uncounselor. This is a topic clearly that I have a lot of fire around, but I do think that we need to look strong and hard at the words that we use and allow people to use the words, because maybe those words really help that person know who they are and prevent them from kind of sliding back into the person that they don't want to be. So just food for thought here. Take a look at it. There's some good articles. Look, I understand the reasoning behind this and how people kind of got to this place of stigmatizing words. Like, I get it. I entirely get it. But as with everything, it goes too far, right? And progressive, whatever political way you want to take that, just means it keeps moving, right? And I don't believe progress, which has the word progress in it, is always good. I think we've gone too far, and I want to bring it back a little bit. I want to bring it back because it matters. And it matters to the people who are struggling, and I want them to know that it's okay, right? I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict, right? I know that I'm very close, and that those things mean something to me. And if I get too far away in my brain from that, I know that I'm getting up to that edge where I don't want to be. Whew, okay, all right. So enough of yelling into a microphone on that today. I always like to start the shows kind of talking about a topic that I'm passionate about, and that's certainly one that's been weighing on my mind over the course of the week. I did have a question kind of get submitted. I had a couple questions, but there's one that, again, I like to speak about things that I'm passionate about, and this one came across the inbox as well, and it was talking about, how do I stay present, right? The conversation was a little bit around anxiety, but kind of reeled it back into how do I stay present in the moment? And I thought that was a good one in this world where we're constantly inundated with social media, 24-hour news cycle, kids, school, practice, driving, what's for dinner, husband, wife, finances. It is a lot. And life is not easy, right? And I was just listening to a Dennis Prager podcast, and he was just saying the sooner that you figure out life is difficult, the better your life's going to be. And I was like, boom, yeah, okay. Can we just accept that? And now we can start to move forward in life. Because, man, that really resonated with me. So how do we stay present? It seems so simple, yet we're on our phones constantly. The kids, I've been asked, Daddy, 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 thousands of times in the week that I've had my little one over spring break. We've got jobs, we've got bosses, we have all of these things constantly vying for our attention. So how are we able to sit, stay, be present, know where we're at in the moment, and be able to enjoy that? Find that peace or centering, and some people may be laughing. Yeah, you can do that. Here's some of the solution-focused counseling advice that I'd like to push out there for staying present. First off, I'd love to see if we can, find a little away time from the phone. If it's possible, I know it is, but if you can check that phone. I go to the gym. Exercise is a huge part of everything that matters to me in my life, from my mental health to the physical health to finding my center. I leave that phone in the locker room. I see everybody on their phones in between sets or on the equipment. I heard a phone go off in my yoga class just last night, and I'm just going, is this just counter to everything that this class is supposed to be? So let's find a little distance, a little separation from that phone, if possible. Again, I like to provide tangible take-home suggestions for you that are out there to hear. Check the phone out for an hour. Just an hour. Do something like that. Decompress from that. There are breathing exercises. If your day is just starting to swirl and things are just moving at a clip that I am just not prepared for at this point in time, find some of the breathing exercises. They're square breathing. Go on YouTube. There's some great videos that exist out there in the world. You're able to find some time to focus on your breath a little bit, right? Slow it down. Slow it down for a minute. Turn the screen off. Slow it down. This could be in your car. This could be at your home. This could be at your desk at work. Whatever it needs to be, find a few minutes to just kind of pause and slow it down. Couple other suggestions. I am big on the exercise. If you can find an hour of your day to go for a walk, go for a hike, put on some classical music while you're out there, right? Really try and take your mind off of all the noise that is going on. Think about gratitude. There's going to be a whole other podcast just on gratitude alone. I think it's one of the most underutilized tools in all of mental health and behavioral health, is really focusing on the good that is going on in your life. And I can't stress that enough. But if you can slow it down a little bit, if you can think about the things in life that you're grateful for, I can hear my little 3-year-old in the other room as I'm sitting here podcasting right now. And part of me is going, that's distracting. And then part of me is going, man, that's so cool, right? I'm just so lucky that I get to have this little red-haired, blue-eyed girl, 3-year-old girl that calls me daddy. And I'm just going, man, that's cool, right? Man, that's cool. And I didn't used to always be that way. The practice of gratitude, the practice of being centered takes effort, takes time, it takes repetition, and you're still not going to get it right? It really is a daily practice that you will get better at slowly as you start to become conscious and want to focus and find that within your life. So again, exercise, putting the phone away. I don't mean to beat the yoga drum, but my goodness, has it impacted my life tremendously, post-divorce, post being a single dad. And to find an hour where I'm in a place that allows me to focus on my breathing, kind of as they talk you through some of the exercises. Again, I went in for the flexibility and came out with a whole new mindset on how I want to approach things, and how that hour in that room allows me to really center myself. And it used to be just the hour that I would get the benefit from. Now I'm getting an hour plus some. And I'm finding that plus is growing a little bit each day. Am I perfect in this? Absolutely freaking not. I am not some Zen master, but what I have found is just the calm that kind of comes into my brain because I'm being intentional about kind of blocking out all these other things. Yoga may not be attainable for every single person that's out there in the world, but I can't recommend it enough if it's possible. Again, if you can, get outside. I don't know where you're at, but get outside, go to nature, let the sun, take your shirt off, walk around, let the sun hit you. If you're in a cold place, go for a hike out in the woods. I don't know what it is, but it needs to be some alone time where you're just starting to be conscious and trying to bring it back to, what am I grateful for? What good is going on in my life right now? And let's see if we can start thinking that way and start taking action around thinking about the positive things, being grateful for the little stuff that's in your life. You know, one of my favorite things that we do in my household every single night is we have a little routine of, you know, she'll get a little bit of the tablet time, which just makes me smile if we're watching Bluey, or Frozen has been the big thing in our house lately. And we sing and be silly. And, you know, I'm not typically a big silly guy, but we dance and sing Let It Go and have all this fun stuff. But then it's, okay, it's time to go potty, brush our teeth. Then we get in our bed and we say our prayers. And, man, I love it. And she'll get in and say the little prayers, and I just sit there and smile, and I'm just going, how did I get so lucky to kind of have this, right? So whatever that is for you, maybe it's your dog and the walk that you get to take them out on. Maybe it's calling your mom or your parents. Whatever that is, take some time and start thinking about it. Be intentional about trying to find some time in your day and blocking it out. Put it on your calendar if you have to. I know that sounds a little robotic and kind of anti, you know, what I'm getting at, but if your life is structured that way, look, I know many of you are high-paying executives and busy folks. Like, this is important to the point where you have to time block it. Like, it is that important, or otherwise all this other stuff is going to catch up to you. It's going to impact your sleep, your eating, your relationships, all of these other things if you're not finding some time to really be intentional, start to be present if you can, and start with minutes, right? There are many meditation apps that exist out there in the world. I am not the world's greatest meditator, but I find meditation in many other ways. One example for me is working out in my yard, right? I'll have some classical music or whatever I'm in the mood for that day. I'm going out and I'm pulling weeds. I'm kind of moving some stuff around. I get some of the yard work done that I find just some peace where my mind is not thinking about those things. And it's really enjoyable. And I look forward to it, right? So think about how you can start to build a schedule and build in the ability to stay present, and start small. Go easy. If you screw it up and can't find it, or your brain's going a million miles an hour, try and do it for a minute, and then over the next couple of days, try and do it for 2 minutes. See if that starts to change how you feel, maybe how it impacts your relationships. Try and find ways to really channel this into other areas of your life. And I think that you're going to see some really interesting impact. I know I have. This is a topic, and again, I didn't want to get full into anxiety today, but the conversation